At 8:42 in the morning, the system stopped not with alarms or explosions, but with a quiet that spread from screen to screen like breath being held too long. I need an answer, now. That was Richard Hale, the CEO, his voice cracking through the executive conference room. Someone said, payments just froze. Another voice followed, thinner, scared. Compliance dashboards are locked. Then Richard's chair scraped back. Where is Ann Walker? No one answered. I want to know, Richard said, louder, stepping toward his son, why the incident owner is not in the room. Bradley laughed, sharp and wrong, because she thought eating lunch mattered more than Richard grabbed Bradley's tie and yanked him close. Why did you fire her downstairs? I was still holding my lunch container when my phone went silent. Not buzzing, not ringing. Silent. That was when I knew. I didn't break anything. I said to no one in particular. I just stopped. My name is Ann Walker. I am the Senior Incident Systems Architect here, or I was until 12 hours earlier, when Bradley decided that optics mattered more than understanding. I heard the elevators open. Voices rushed past. Someone swore. Someone else said my name like it was a missing tool. I told her to leave. Bradley said somewhere above me. She was sitting there eating while the system was still red. Red did not mean dead. Red meant contained. Red meant we were holding the line. No one had asked me before removing me. No one had checked the protocols I wrote. No one had asked who held the emergency override during containment. I closed the lid on my lunch and set it on the table. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I stood, picked up my bag, and walked toward the exit as screens across the building began to lock themselves. One layer at a time, exactly as designed. 12 hours earlier, the night shift had not yet gone home. The story you're about to hear is a fictional work created by the writing team at Revenge Aita. While inspired by real workplace dynamics, power imbalances, and corporate pressure, all characters, companies, and events in this narrative are fictional. This story is told to explore accountability, dignity, and what happens when people confuse authority with understanding. How long can a system survive on exhaustion alone? We're not chasing ghosts anymore, Maya said. Her voice hoarse through the headset. The cascade stopped. I leaned closer to the monitor. Confirmed transaction flow. Delayed, she replied, but consistent. Good, I said. Then containment is holding. It was past midnight. I had stopped checking the clock after the second pot of coffee. Around us, the team moved in slow, careful motions, like people afraid a sudden gesture might undo everything we had just stabilized. Evan rubbed his eyes and asked, why is the dashboard still red? Because red doesn't mean dying, I said. It means guarded. We don't flip to green until every dependency stops throwing edge errors. So we're safe. He pressed. We're breathing, I said. That's different. My hands shook when I reached for my water bottle. I noticed it then, the hollow feeling behind my ribs, the dull pressure in my head. I hadn't eaten since early morning. I'm stepping out for 3 minutes, I said. Do not touch the override queue. Maya looked up. Ann, you sure I'll be 10 steps away, I said. If anything spikes, you yell. I walked to the side table and opened the container I'd packed the night before. Half a sandwich. Cold. Perfect. Behind me, someone muttered. Dashboard's still red. I didn't turn around. It's supposed to be. Executives won't like that, Evan said. They don't have to like it, I replied. They just have to not break it. I took 2 bites. My hand steadied almost immediately. That's him, Maya said quietly. I looked up. Bradley Sterling stood near the doorway, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the screen. Not the logs, not the error traces. The color. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. The way his jaw tightened told me everything. I closed the container and stood, wiping my hands on a napkin. Containment is stable, I said clearly. We're not out of danger, but we're no longer hemorrhaging. Bradley's gaze flicked from the red dashboard to my lunch, then back to me. He smiled like he had just found the problem. When a crisis looks bad on paper, someone always decides optics matter more than outcomes. Bradley Sterling didn't knock. He never did. What is this, he said, pointing at the main dashboard. Red across the board, it's containment, I replied. The cascade stopped 40 minutes ago. We're stabilizing dependencies before he cut me off. I don't care what you call it. Red means failure. Maya straightened in her chair. Sir, transactions are consistent. We're delaying to prevent. Bradley lifted a hand without looking at her. I wasn't asking you. His eyes locked on me. "And you," he said, his voice sharpening. "How can you sit there eating while the system is down?" "I stepped away for 3 minutes," I said evenly. "My team has been awake for over 20 hours. We're holding the line, holding the line." He laughed once, loud enough to turn heads. "This company does not pay people to hold lines. It pays them to fix problems. We are fixing it," I said. "But not by rushing changes just to make the screen look green." Bradley glanced around the room, as if taking inventory of witnesses. "What I see," he said, "is someone comfortable enough to take a break during a crisis." "That's not what's happening," Evans said quietly. Bradley snapped his fingers toward him. "Stay out of this." He stepped closer to me. "Commitment matters here. Optics matter. And right now, you look disengaged." I felt the room tighten. No one spoke. "Effective immediately," Bradley said. "You are removed from this incident." Maya's head jerked up. "You can't just I can," he said. "I'm making the call." I stood slowly. "You're pulling the incident owner during active containment. I'm pulling someone who doesn't understand urgency." He shot back. "Security." 2 guards appeared at the door, uncertain but already moving. Bradley didn't look away from me. "Turn in your badge. Leave the room." I unclipped it and placed it on the table. As I walked past the monitors, I heard Evan whisper, "Anne, wait." I didn't. "What is an incident owner and why does it matter before you walk me out?" I said, keeping my voice steady. "Someone needs to understand what you just did." Bradley didn't slow. "You're not in charge anymore. I am the incident owner," I said. "That role exists for one reason. During containment, only one person holds emergency override access." He scoffed. "That's technical jargon. It's policy." I said, "Approved. Documented." He stopped and turned. "Show me." "I don't have to," I replied. "You approved the email." Janet from HR hurried over, breathless. "Bradley, what's going on?" "She's being removed," he said. She was disengaged. Janet looked at me. "Anne, do you still have system access?" "Not once I'm escorted out," I said, "per protocol." Janet frowned. "What protocol?" "That's the problem," I said quietly. Bradley folded his arms. "You're telling me the entire system depends on one person?" "No," I said, "it depends on one role. A role I asked to share." When Janet asked, "Twice last quarter," I said. "I requested cross-training and a backup incident lead. I was told it wasn't cost-efficient." Bradley waved a hand. "We can't overstaff every contingency." "You didn't staff it at all," I said. "You deferred it." Janet flipped through her tablet. "I don't see any record of override access ownership, because it was logged under incident governance." I said, "Not HR." Bradley's jaw tightened. "Enough. Walk her out." Janet hesitated. "Bradley, if she's right, she's not," he snapped. "We have a team." "A team without authority," I said. "Once I leave, the system will follow its safety rules." He leaned in. "You're threatening the company now, I'm explaining it," I said. Security stepped closer. I picked up my bag as they led me away. I heard Janet say, "Bradley, should we designate a new incident owner?" He didn't answer. The elevator doors closed, and with them, the last human hand on the controls. Is stepping back the same as sabotage? I stood just outside the building and took a breath. My phone buzzed once, then stopped. That mattered. I opened my laptop on the bench by the entrance and logged in for the last time. Not to fix anything, not to touch production, just to close what policy required me to close. I ended my emergency override session. A confirmation prompt appeared. "Incident owner privileges will be released." I clicked confirm. My phone rang immediately. It was Maya. "Anne," she said, "too fast. My access just dropped." "I know," I said. "I'm no longer authorized." "You didn't do anything, right?" "I did exactly what the policy says." I replied, "Nothing more." There was a pause. Then, softer. "They're saying you walked out?" "I was escorted out." I said, "That's different." I typed one message and sent it to the incident channel. "I'm no longer authorized to intervene. Please do not let this fall on you." 3 dots appeared. Then Evan's reply. "They're asking who holds the override now." "No one," I said out loud. Bradley's name flashed on my screen. I let it ring. Security stepped outside, watching me without pretending not to. I closed the laptop and stood, inside, somewhere far above me. The system began doing what it was designed to do when human authority disappeared. Non-essential processes paused. Right access narrowed. Safeguards tightened. one layer at a time. My phone rang again. This time it was Janet from HR. "Anne," she said, breathless. "Are you still nearby? I'm leaving," I said. "Can you come back for a moment?" "I can't," I replied. "You removed me." A longer pause. Then, "We didn't realize," I explained. I said, "In the hallway." I walked toward the street as alerts started cascading through group chats I was no longer part of. Not failures, locks. Behind me, the building hummed, quieter than before, waiting for instructions that would not come. Which system fails first when no one is allowed to touch the controls? It started with payments. Transactions are queuing. Someone said over the bridge. "They're not failing. They're just waiting." "For what?" another voice snapped. "For clearance," Maya replied. Right access narrowed. Evan cut in. "Tight. I can see the rule set. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do when there's no incident authority." A chair scraped. "Override it," Bradley said. "I can't," Evan answered. "The override requires incident owner credentials. Then assign a new one," Bradley said. Janet's voice came in from legal, sharp with panic. "That's not instant. There's documentation. There's audit trail. We can't just." Compliance chimed next. "Reporting jobs just halted. If we don't generate the filings by end of day, we miss regulatory deadlines." Inventory followed. Numbers aren't syncing. Warehouses are frozen. "We can't release shipments without validated counts." Bradley exhaled hard. "This is unacceptable. This is safety," Maya said. "The system is preventing bad data from propagating, and it's costing us." Bradley shot back. A new voice joined. Older, measured, the CFO. "Every hour payments are paused. Settlements roll. We have contractual penalties written in plain language." "How much?" Bradley asked. "Enough that the board will ask why we let this happen." Silence. Then a lower murmur as executives began talking over each other. "Can we bring her back?" someone asked. Janet hesitated. She was removed from the incident. Removed. How? The CFO pressed. Bradley answered before she could. "I made the call." Another pause. Heavier this time. Maya spoke carefully. "Until an incident owner is restored, the system will continue to lock non-essential pathways. Next layer is risk scoring," Evan added. "After that, customer-facing services will degrade." Bradley slammed his hand on the table. "So what are we supposed to do?" No one answered immediately. Then, quietly, from the far end of the line, someone said the thing no one wanted to say. "Where's Anne? What happens when accountability finally reaches the top?" I wasn't in the room when it happened, but I heard it later from 3 different people, and none of them disagreed on the moment that changed everything. "The payments are still frozen," the CFO said. "Compliance missed the first reporting window." Richard Hale stood at the head of the table, jaw tight. "Why am I hearing this now?" Janet answered carefully. "Because the system entered automated safety behavior after the incident owner was removed." Richard turned. "Removed by whom?" No one spoke at first. Then Bradley cleared his throat. "I made a judgment call." Richard looked at him. "Explain." "She was sitting there eating," Bradley said. The dashboard was still red. The team needed urgency. Maya's voice cut in from the end of the table. "The dashboard was red because we were in containment." Anne explained that. Bradley snapped back. "Optics matter in a crisis." Richard's hand came down hard on the table. "Results matter." She looked disengaged. Bradley insisted. "I pulled her off the incident." The room went quiet. "You pulled the incident owner," Richard said slowly. "During active containment." "Yes," Bradley said. "I had the authority." Richard took one step forward, then another. He grabbed Bradley by the tie and yanked him close, his voice no longer controlled. "Why did you fire her?" No one moved. No one breathed. Richard released him and turned to the board. "Did anyone here approve this?" Chairs shifted. Heads shook. The CFO spoke again. "This decision directly triggered the system lock. We are exposed on multiple fronts." Richard nodded once. "Then this is no longer a technical issue. It's a governance failure." He looked back at his son. "You don't get to confuse pressure with leadership." Bradley opened his mouth, then closed it. Richard straightened. "Restore the incident owner or explain to the board why you cannot." Janet hesitated. "She's already left the building." Richard's eyes hardened. "Then we fix what we broke." And for the first time since the outage began, the room understood exactly who had caused the collapse. What do you say when the people who broke everything suddenly need you? My phone rang while I was halfway home. Janet's name came up first. "Anne," she said, skipping pleasantries. "We need you to come back, just temporarily." "I was removed," I replied. "That wasn't temporary. This is different," she said. I know what the system is doing," I said. "It's following the rules you approved." A second call cut in before she could answer. Legal this time. A man named Thomas I'd met exactly once in 6 years. "We're reviewing the logs," he said. "They show no malicious action on your part." "Because there wasn't any," I said. "The lock initiated automatically," he continued. "Based on loss of incident authority. That's what containment mode does," I said. "It protects the company when leadership removes the person holding the controls." There was a pause. Then Thomas said, "The CEO would like to speak with you." Richard Hale's voice was calm, but stretched thin. "Anne, I need you back in the building." "I can't," I said. "You let your son remove me during an active incident." "That decision is being addressed," he said. "Right now, I'm asking you to help us stabilize." "I didn't destabilize anything," I said. "I followed policy." "Your system locked itself." "We understand that now," he said. "Then you understand why I won't step back into the same structure," I replied. "Not as an employee, not under someone who can overrule protocol because he doesn't like how it looks." Richard exhaled. "What would it take? Clear authority," I said. "Written, independent, and protection for the team you put in an impossible position." Silence, then quieter. "If we agree, I'll review it," I said. "I won't rush it." Another pause. "Longer this time." "We'll call you back," Richard said, after the line went dead. I watched a new message come through from Maya. They're arguing about who actually caused this. I set the phone face down and kept walking, knowing the answer was already in the logs they were finally reading. Can a company admit its real mistake? They didn't call it an investigation at first. They called it a review, as if softer language could soften what had happened. Thomas from legal spoke carefully when he called me. An external firm has been brought in. Governance, risk, incident response. They want to understand sequence and authority. I already sent them the logs. I said, time-stamped, immutable. "Yes," he replied. "They've read them." A day later, Janet joined the call, her voice stripped of corporate polish. "The findings are direct." She didn't sound surprised. She sounded relieved. "The incident owner was removed without cause during active containment," she read. "That action violated crisis protocol and triggered automated safety behavior." Thomas continued. "The decision was made based on appearance rather than system stability." I let that sit, and I asked. There was a pause. Then Richard Hale spoke. "My son will no longer hold any operational authority. Effective immediately, permanently." I said nothing. "We are restructuring incident governance," he went on. "Your original framework will be adopted in full. Independent authority, clear escalation boundaries, no discretionary removals. That should have been done years ago," I said. "Yes," he agreed quietly. Janet added, "No one on your team will be disciplined. The review explicitly states they acted appropriately under impossible constraints." "That matters," I said. "They were blamed for decisions they didn't make." "I know," Richard said. "That ends now." The call ended without ceremony, no apologies, no grand gestures, just documented consequences moving through a system that finally understood what it had ignored. That evening, Maya texted me. "They took his access. All of it." I read it once, then put the phone down. Somewhere inside the company, new rules were being written with my language in them, not as a favor, but as a correction. And for the first time since the night of the outage, the silence felt earned. What does winning look like when no one applauds? I came back a month later with a visitor badge and a short contract. Independent crisis consultant. Clear authority. Clear limits. My name sat on the incident chart without anyone else's signature above it. Richard met me outside the operations floor. "You'll have full autonomy during incidents," he said. "No discretionary removals. No optics overrides." "I don't need promises," I told him. "I need them written." "They are," he said, and handed me the manual. There it was. Printed in plain language, not buried in footnotes in a crisis. Protect the people protecting the system. Maya caught my eye from across the room. She smiled, small and real. "They finally listened," she said. "They finally read." I replied. The system ran quietly that morning, no alarms, no red banners screaming for attention. Evan leaned over and said, "Feels strange when nothing is broken." "It's not strange," I said. "It's what happens when people stop rushing." At noon, I went to the cafeteria. I stood in line, tray in hand. No one stared. No one whispered. Bradley's name wasn't spoken at all. That, more than anything, told me the lesson had landed. I sat by the window and opened my lunch, a sandwich, an apple. Simple, normal. Richard walked past, paused, then nodded once. He didn't stop. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Later that afternoon, Janet stopped by my desk. "The team asked me to say thank you," she said, "for holding the line and for not burning it down." "I didn't save anything," I said. "I just refused to be erased." She nodded and left. I finished my lunch and went back to work. The screen stayed green. The room stayed calm. The company kept moving. The lesson I carry with me is simple: respect costs nothing, but ignoring it is always expensive. When people are treated like disposable tools, systems eventually fail. When people are trusted, fed, and heard, the quiet work holds everything together.